Well, welcome everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dan Kerr, and I wear many hats at the All Souls. And one of the hats I wear is I'm the community outreach chairman. And in that context, I'm very pleased to introduce you all to Father Ian Whitmore, who will become our priest in charge starting on Sunday. And Father Ian, we're very grateful that you could join us today. Could you, by way of introduction to the folks at All Souls and the community we serve, can you describe a little bit your career in ministry?
Yeah, I was ordained a little bit later. I was in my 30s, and I was ordained in the Anglican Church of Canada, which is my home country. More specifically, in the Diocese of Fredericton, which covers the province of New Brunswick on the East Coast, and served in three different parishes there before we moved to the States uh, to be closer to my parents in their last years. So we were in Southern Illinois, the Diocese of Springfield, for 7 years before we moved to St. James 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago. So that's the quickie version of where we've been. Can't hear you.
There we go. So you've been a priest since 1998?
I was ordained a deacon in 96 and priested in 97.
97. Okay, so it's close. How has your ministry as a priest, has it evolved over that period of time?
Yeah, I would say so. I was when I first graduated and was ordained, I served as an assistant curate in a 3-point parish. That's a parish with three churches. Uh, and it was very traditional, very old school, old prayer book. If people are familiar with the 1928 prayer book, which is the one before the one we use now, this one was kind of like that. It was the Canadian version from the 1950s, and so very traditional Anglican liturgy, and and that was kind of my situation. All the parishes I served up there, and so I kind of got out of that when we moved to the States, and I was kind of stiff and starchy too, I think, back in those days, being stickler for doing all the right things and stuff. And as I've aged, I've got more laid back, I hope. And so yeah, so uh,
Okay, good, good. So it's interesting. You describe yourself like a fine wine. You get better, get it with age.
yeah,
But
I hope I am.
so as you look back and you reflect on how you've evolved, well, what are kind of the lessons you've learned in your many years of being a priest in terms of serving congregations and ministering to people?
Lessons learned. Well, every parish I've been in has been a learning experience, and every move is a chance to push the reset button and kind of wave goodbye to your all your old mistakes, and try not to make them again, and try to become a little more mature and a little uh, uh, yeah, I guess more laid back. I'm kind of got to the point where I'm like Bobby McFerrin now. Don't worry, be happy. Uh, Things happen, and you deal with them. And but the main thing is um, serving God's people faithfully and loving them uh, as is as like Christ as possible, and uh, yeah, and just enjoying. I enjoy my work. I enjoy hanging out with my parishioners and getting to know them and just having fun with them, and as well as being there when they need me, being there on their sad occasions, and rejoicing when they rejoice, and all the rest of it.
That's great that you have the self awareness to look back and to recognize. I think all too often people who lack humility, it's difficult for them to acknowledge their mistakes. And if you don't acknowledge your mistakes, there's no way to learn from the mistakes. And I look at myself, I know that I probably learned more from the mistakes I've made in life than the successes I've had, limited though they may be. So
Yeah, same here.
yeah. So you obviously St. James, interesting in terms of our history. That was, when people come into the church, they see the plaque from the Department of Interior when we got historical status and became a national landmark, and it says All Souls Church, formerly known as St. James Chapel. So it's interesting in terms of you coming back now to be the priest in charge of both parishes. And you already had the big parish there at St. James, and now you've come, and we're grateful that you've come to us and will lead us. What made that attractive to you? What made you say, in addition to your own church, you now want to lead the second church?
Well, I've got experience in multi-church ministry. I think I said when in the first parish I served, I was an assistant. There were three churches. It's what we call the 3-point parish, and but there were two clergy, and but it was a great learning experience, and they're very rural churches, big active congregations, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then I moved. The next parish I went to was 2 Points. It was two churches. So two congregations, very different, two service times on Sunday morning. And so that was, and then from there I moved to the next parish I moved to was one church with two, like an early service and a later service. So kind of getting, narrowing it down more and more. So I got a lot of experience from that. And that is why, I think when I first pitched this idea to Canon Woodley, the diocesan deployment officer, she and the bishop were interested because of my experience in multi-point ministry, thinking that this might be a good idea and let's try it out. So as a result, well, actually, I had first pitched it back before Father Tom came, after Pastor Bob left, and knowing that you folks at All Souls were going to have a hard time finding another priest, and I pitched that as a possibility. The wardens at the time at St. James said, no, you can't do that yet because you haven't been here long enough, and we still want you to ourselves for a while longer. And then they started bringing it up again this year earlier. And then it turned out that Father Tom was getting ready to make his announcement to go. So then I got a call from the diocese again, asking if I would still be interested in doing that. So I said, yes, I would. Look forward to it.
Your experience prepared you for this, but were there any things particularly about All Souls itself that made it attractive, that you wanted to get involved with All Souls?
Well, I've had a lot of interaction with All Souls folks, and coming to various things since I've been here, and some of them at your invitation, and enjoyed getting to know the folks I've met, and just realizing what a special place it is, and sitting there on the knoll in the midst of all the activity in Stony Brook Village, and I thought, this looks like a great little place. There's lots of stuff going on. They're a very active congregation. They really want to make a footprint in the community and be of service, and so it was ticking all my boxes. And I thought, yeah, I would like to partner with them to do that. I just think it could be fun and interesting and enjoyable.
Thank you for that. Just a quick question. Would you prefer, and I know you, as you've described how you evolved, you become less and less formal and probably a little bit more easygoing, but and in your bio, you gave us like 4 or 5 different things we could call you, but do you prefer the term vicar or priest in charge? How do you officially would like to be referred to?
Well, that's determined, and I asked for clarification on that yesterday from Canon Woodley, whether I would be the vicar or the priest in charge, and uh, so that title is assigned by the diocese. So I guess officially I will be the vicar of All Souls as well as the rector of St. James. Uh,
Father Tom liked the term vicar. He was the one who, when he was here, said, "Call me vicar." You know, he had this image of, you know, a country priest with a small congregation where he knew everybody and got along with everybody and cared for everybody and ministered to a smaller group. And he said, "Call me the vicar." So
Yeah, it's well, it's very English, and it's a very common term in the Episcopal Church as well. And
mhm.
I was the vicar in my last position in Illinois. I was the vicar because it wasn't a fully self-supporting congregation yet.
Mhm.
And so I've been a rector a few times and a vicar once, and now I'm combining it to be the rector vicar or the vicar rector,
Well, we'll do whatever they officially title, but
the
we
the
kind of let,
RV.
to the extent we have any voice, I think people are like the term vicar. So um, either way, regardless of what title you land on, you know, you're here to lead. Can you talk a little bit how you lead a congregation? I know it's evolved, no doubt, over the years, but how would you describe your leadership style, and more particularly, how you lead a group of parishioners?
Um, I I don't like being a boss, and so having employees under me is a recent experience for me, and uh, and leading congregations, I'm very much a Democrat in that way. I want the people to be involved in decision making. I don't want to be the autocrat. Um, if I always used to say, whatever happens inside the communion rail is my territory, and anything outside the communion rail is me and the vestry or the bishop's committee or the congregation or whomever. And so uh, I would rather the people take the lead. And
And as you
it's their church. They've been here longer than I have, and they'll be here long after I'm gone. And so they're the ones that are really heavily invested.
Mhm.
So they need to have that ownership.
Mhm. Good. Okay, there's two more questions, and again, appreciate you making yourself available on short notice. If you look ahead, and actually, you know, the reality is you've started to minister to our congregation, you know, well in advance of this coming Sunday. But as you look ahead to your first service at All Souls on Sunday, do you have in mind certain things you'd like to accomplish during this period of time that you're leading us?
Um, no, not for myself. You all have lots of things going on, and I know the accessibility project is the big thing that you really want to get done, and I would really like to work with you all in getting that accomplished, as well as ministering to the community, witnessing, being as Christ to everyone we encounter. So uh, and yeah, I guess we haven't really had much of a discussion with about other big ticket items or big items, big agenda items. But
That access, yeah,
whatever's on the go, I'm game for it.
yeah, when you look at, you know, as you know, and having spent all this time in corporate America, you know, you have your mission statement is supposed to guide your behaviors, how you interact with others, and our mission statement says we meet people where they are. But as we say that, we know this was reinforced when we did the community service after the day after the big flood, and we held the service outdoors on the outside the church, and there were three people we had to carry up the stairs. So right now there is a big variance between what we say we are and what we are with regards to being accessible to all. So you know you're spot on with the importance of that accessibility project. And when you think of the things that we do, the most important thing is witnessing Christ in the community, and you know that's number one, and all the other stuff kind of falls behind that. So just last question to you, if you're comfortable sharing. So we know a bit more about you as a priest and more about your career and your leadership style and how your style has, how you've grown and evolved as a priest. What are some of your outside interests?
Um, well, I'm a new grandfather, so that's been lots of fun for the past year, and I expect it will continue. And especially since the grandbaby lives in our house with us, and so we're gonna treasure and capitalize on that time as much as we can. But outside interest, I am uh, I like to read. I'm a very slow reader. I like doing DIY stuff. Um, I enjoy doing, carpentry and electrical stuff as long as it doesn't get me in trouble with the building inspectors and plumbing and all that kind of stuff. And so we're looking forward to building a place to retire to in a few years. And so I'm gearing up and collecting tools for that. But yeah, it's
Just
kind
a
of my outside interest.
quick clarification. What is DIY stuff?
Oh, do it yourself.
Oh, do it yourself. Okay.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
related? Okay, got it. I
Home
never heard.
improvement, building things. Yeah, I love doing all that kind of stuff. And it's it it's sometimes I've offered to do stuff in the parish, and people they have this puzzled look. It's like it doesn't make sense to them that a priest knows anything about carpentry or electrical or anything practical like that, and they have a hard time believing that I can do these things. So of course, in a place like New York where you want everything done right, you got to have somebody with a license. So I don't stick that ore in the water too much. But um, yes, seeing things with a finished product is the thing I like. But I'm also I majored in history and I love history and I love doing historical tourism. So uh, so we have a lot to do. I have a lot to do while I live in New York, and especially on Long Island. And I have roots here, loyalist roots on Long Island, and in particularly Setauket and Hewlett, Hempstead, and Westchester. So doing ancestor worship in all these places is on my list.
Well, Lorraine, you mentioned, we have a very special relationship with St. James, and we have a very special relationship with Carolyn. We describe St. James as our mother church. We're mindful that's where we came. And Caroline Church has kind of like been our big sister church. And, they're much larger than us. And, examples of that, if we have a death in the congregation and we know that the church is too small, they've led us to do services there. Just a really good relationship with them as well. You have a particular ancestral connection with, as I understand it, with Caroline. Could you just talk a little bit about that?
I do. It was my fifth great grandfather who founded that parish. Uh, he was he was from Connecticut. He was a grandson of Puritan immigrants, converted, became Anglican, was one of the first four American-born clergy to be ordained in the Church of England. And as soon as he got back over here, they set him to work catechizing natives in Manhattan, and then sent him up to Setauket to plant this congregation. And that was all in the 1720s. And so having done that work, it didn't take him very long, I guess. And then he went off to Westchester County and lived out his days in Rye. So so I have that connection with Caroline. It's pretty cool in my mind, anyway.
Yeah, it's the first time we've had a priest. We have a special relationship now. Obviously, you're developing with All Souls and with St. James and with Caroline. It's nice to tie them all together. So, okay. So I promised you that I wouldn't keep you for more than 15 minutes, and we're coming up to 18 minutes now. So I'll just give you, if there's anything else you'd like to share before we close.
I don't think so. Just to say that I've been excited as this whole project has developed, this clergy sharing project. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to starting officially on Sunday and to seeing how things go and how things grow. Hopefully there will be growth and development um, um, you folks are already on the move, and I just want to get in there and move along with you on doing all the good things you're doing.
Thank you, Father Ian. God bless you in your ministry. And we look forward to your coming, and we thank you for this day. You be well. God bless you.
You too. Bye-bye.